Get also there's Charity Ngilu who's been lined up there. On one side there's Ann Waiguru, there's Martha Karua on the other side, and Charity Ngilu. Who among them brings the best opportunity for that team? Who forms the best winning ticket?
Well, first, Trevor, the selection of a running mate is the first most important national decision that a presidential candidate makes. And that gives the people a barometer or a bearing of their priorities, their interests, their inclination, and what they believe in or what they don't believe in. For Raila Odinga, for William Ruto, the ultimate settlement on who is it amongst these candidates on their sides that they will have as a running mate will tell us what is it that they believe in and which direction their governance is likely to face, if at all the citizens confer upon them such opportunity to serve as the executive in this country. Secondly, we need to appreciate that the person of a running mate, potentially a deputy president, needs to help the president then to govern. With the benefit of retrospect from 2013 hitherto, we have seen the duo, Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, working together in the first term and going separate ways, asunder, literally, politically, in this second term. Therefore, looking or casting our eyes on these potential candidates here, we ask ourselves, what weight does the persons on the right, or rather on the part of Azimio, bring, and what rights and benefits do they bring on the part of Kenya Kwanza? Now, the same way it was for Joe Biden in the year 2020, upon the death of George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd, and the critical issues affecting the black persons in the US, he settled first on the issue of race, electing, and he said prior that he'll choose possibly a person of color. Secondly, a woman. In this election, the issue of gender seems to be a bit entertaining, in terms of being not particularly heavily consequential, but having a tilting effect in the outcome of this election. And that's why the names of persons such as Honorable Martha Karua, Senior Counsel, or Charity Kaluki Ngilu, Governor. On the other side, Madam Governor Ann Waiguru. Yeah. Now, looking at Charity Ngilu, history has a place for her. A very colorful political career. She contested even earlier, in 1997, I think, I remember Masaya Ngilu, her mantra. And she has been in the political arena since then, up to now, having served even in the cabinet, now as governor. Thing is this, Charity Ngilu seems to be challenging even the political authority of Kalonzo Musyoka in Ukambani. In fact, she is an alternative power base in Ukambani upon the absolute exit of Kalonzo Musyoka. If Raila Odinga settles on Charity Ngilu, it will politically vanquish Kalonzo Musyoka. Kalonzo Musyoka, as we see him and how he has been making some demands, and even here he has been saying that he cannot attend the vetting process by the panel that has been constituted by the Azimio team. Kalonzo Musyoka feels he has got a paternalistic right to be Raila Odinga's running mate. And that, with that kind of attitudinal approach to the present situation within Azimio, it may be a bit difficult for Raila Odinga to think of Kalonzo Musyoka as a possible running mate because of the stance already taken.
But doesn't he have a point, having deputized him before?
The point is there, but I can't seem to see it. Now, as a matter of fact...
Invisible point.
Yes, as a matter of fact, he has served as vice president. But remember that settling on the person of a running mate is a personal issue of the presidential candidate. It's not about your history. It's not about your clout, so much personal. It is the decision of the running mate, or rather the presidential candidate, to determine who is it that they can have a quick chemistry to work together, who is it that will make the governance easier for them. Now, for example, I guess, when we look at William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta right now, we've seen that initially their primary goal was to win power, and they did. But now governance became a challenge for both of them. And ambition is something that is critical here. Kalonzo Musyoka considers himself a possible president for this country.
Yeah.
And so it is even with all these other candidates that are likely to be picked. Remember that somebody serving as deputy president is a president on attachment or pupillage. It is somebody who is actually rehearsing to be president. And the Constitution provides for the same.
Yeah.
That somebody in the office of the deputy president should be able to serve as president upon, say, for example, the demise of a president, resignation, incapacitation, etc.
Yeah.
And so, beyond the issue, of course, it will be a tricky issue to consider whether they want somebody very ambitious, as fellow counsel Elias has indicated here.
Yeah.
Deputy President William Ruto is in a very unique position. He is presently serving as deputy president, and he has got clearer lenses than even Raila Odinga on the issue of the office of deputy president. Will he want somebody who is exactly like him, better than him, ambitious as him, or perhaps less ambitious? As Mark Antony tells us in Shakespeare's play Julius Caesar, ambition is made of sterner stuff. The person to serve as deputy president must be somebody not only ambitious, but with sterner stuff in terms of the ambition burning their bosom.
Yeah.
And so when you look at Martha Karua, you will agree that she's somebody likely to bring credibility to the candidature of Raila Odinga, if settled upon. And given that she believes strongly in the rule of law, it will be a plus. Remember that, for example, in 2012, when Republican candidate Mitt Romney was running for president, he settled on Paul Ryan for one reason, that Mitt Romney was not considered, even though having served as governor of Massachusetts, was not considered as having the experience of matters legislation in Washington or the affairs of Capitol Hill. And Paul Ryan, a ranking member of the Republican Party in the legislature, was best placed as a running mate, and they had critical chemistry. So here, Martha Karua will provide so much of the push, the position of the rule of law, constitutionalism, and she's a fierce defender of the Constitution. That will be a plus for Raila Odinga's candidature.
Okay.
On the other side of Anne Waiguru, remember that she's a serving governor. Fellow Councillor Omolo here has indicated that various allegations have been cast upon her. But of course, we know that one is innocent until proven guilty. We're all lawyers here. And presently, of course, we know that matters of public service are increasingly dependent on private character. No court of law, competent court of law, has charged Anne Waiguru successfully.
Charged?
No, she has...
Convicted?
No, she has not been convicted. It has not been settled in law that she's not worthy of public service by way of Chapter 6 of the Constitution.
Yeah.
And so that's a critical issue to consider. But like I said, in the event that...
Your Excellency, President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, Mama Margaret Kenyatta, Excellencies, Presidents, and other leaders from other African countries who have joined us today as we mourn our third president, Deputy President, diplomats who have been here, ladies and gentlemen, wananchi wote, hamjambo. Your Excellency, I know that many of us will share my plight today. My plight today is just like a member of the clergy, either a father or a padre who is asked to eulogize a bishop, but not to talk about the bishop's religiosity or religion. I've been asked today to talk about our president, but without talking about politics. I don't know how to eulogize a politician without talking politics. The family of Mwai Kibaki, led by Jimmy, we are all with you as the nation of Kenya at this very, very sad moment when we say farewell to a great Kenyan patriot, Emilio Mwai Kibaki. But then, how did Mwai Kibaki come into where he came into? We know Mwai Kibaki as a youth, Mwai Kibaki as a student, Mwai Kibaki as an intellectual, Mwai Kibaki as a politician. The story was told to us by Jaramogi and Mwai that after KANU was formed in Kirigiti Stadium in 1960, our draft constitution had been presented there, had been prepared by the one Mr. Ojino Okeo, who was Jaramogi's secretary. And he died on his way back to Kisumu through a road accident at the escarpment. Then later on, Jaramogi went to Kampala as a guest of President Milton Obote. I found Obote was campaigning with a very beautiful manifesto. I asked him, who prepared this manifesto for you? Obote said, there are some young men here in Makerere who are very good. Their leader is Sekwela Kenyan. Then Jaramogi said, I want to see him. He brought Mwai Kibaki. When he brought Mwai Kibaki, Jaramogi told him, I want you to do the same manifesto like this for KANU. And he prepared with his team that beautiful manifesto. And that's how Jaramogi now invited him to come and become executive officer of KANU. And that started the journey. We know Kibaki as a member of parliament for Donholm. You know Kibaki as a minister for commerce and industry, as a minister for finance, as a vice president, as a leader of the opposition, as a president, as a retired president. And now here we are saying bye-bye to him, a great Kenyan. Mwai Kibaki is a gentleman, a man of conviction, a man who loved perfection. You worked with Kibaki first in the opposition together as our leader. How he used to lead, how he would discuss the budget and come up with much more eloquent exposition of the budget, better than the Minister of Finance, and tell them how it should be done. Kibaki will tell you, these people don't know what they're doing. Bure kabisa. And when it's a lot of nonsense, he say, imavia kuku. But he was a gentleman by excellence. In the cabinet, we worked together. He would allow a lot of debate in the cabinet. And he also gave the ministers a lot of authority and power to run their ministries. So long as you do not get yourself involved in graft. The biggest enemy of corruption, Mwai Kibaki. And nobody is indispensable when it came to issues of corruption. So we have learned a lot from Mwai Kibaki. We came with almost a bankrupt economy and transformed it. At one time when we were living, it was rising at a rate of 7% per annum because of Mwai Kibaki. Of course, we have had also our differences. When at one time, Kibaki got involved in an accident. Other opportunists took advantage of that position We never held it against Kibaki. At that time when we were negotiating post-election violence, the stocks had collapsed at Serena. Kofi Annan invited me and Kibaki for a meeting. We sat in the office of the president, President Kikwete, President Mkapa, Graça Machel, and Kofi Annan. We talked and talked. In the end, I said, I'm ready to come down to this point. This is the reduced minimum. And Kibaki then agreed. So when we agreed, we shook hands. After shaking hands, the other people now wanted to come into the room to try to persuade him not to agree. He told them, tumemaliza kila kitu. Sasa hakuna kitu tena, tunakwenda kuongea na dunia sasa. And we came out and shook hands with Mwai Kibaki, and he kept those words. There were differences sometimes in the course of running the government, but all of them were able to resolve them amicably. So in retirement, we will continue to remain friends. Each time he has been an advisor to me in many ways. So I've truly lost a friend. The country of Kenya has lost a true patriot, a great leader whose value will only be known with the time as time continues to unfold. Mwai Kibaki, Emilio Mwai Kibaki, rest in peace, rest in eternal peace. I bring finally also to you people condolences of the Kenyans in diaspora around the world who are not able to be with you here today. Thank you very much.
Kwa heshima kuu na unyenyekevu, naomba nimwalike Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta, Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, aweze kupeana heshima za mwisho kwa rais wa 3 wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Atasindikizwa na mkuu Kwa heshima kuu na unyenyekevu, nitaomba sasa nimwalike Mheshimiwa Salva Kiir Mayardit, Rais wa Jamhuri ya Sudan Kusini. Sauti ya keyboard to reduce kidogo. Karibu Mheshimiwa Rais.
This is Defense at Sea. At the Mkunguni Jetty, the epicenter of all Kenya Navy deployments, is where our routine voyage begins, guided by the Kenyan Navy crew. We make our way on board. A piper blows his pipe. This is a salute indicating that we are on board in the company of a senior officer. With us today on this voyage is the Kenyan Navy Fleet Commander Brigadier Sankale Kiswa. We are headed for an offshore patrol within Kenya's territorial waters. At the bridge where the warship is steered is a perfect place for one to find a good example of teamwork. Major Hariri Mwagandi, the first female commander of a Kenyan Navy warship, is a woman at the helm. She issues a series of commands to each officer
Standby for radar fix.
as they play their part in launching the 1,515 tons of warship. As is the Navy tradition, when a vessel like this moves through the Mombasa Channel, soldiers on board move to the right side of the ship to salute the Navy commander whom we have left on land. A few minutes later, they move to the left side and the same honor is accorded towards the city of Mombasa. It used to be the Mombasa Mayor's salute back then. The Navy has kept the tradition long after the municipality structure was abandoned.
At the bridge, as I command the ship, ensuring it is my responsibility to ensure that the ship is safe, but I have a navigating officer who is responsible to advise on the best route to follow and the best way to avoid navigational hazards. I also have a coxswain at the bridge. I give conning orders to the coxswain and he executes them as part of what I give. Then I have my second in command also at the bridge, whose main role is to mainly ensure that as we are at the bridge, the forecastle, which is the forepart of the ship, and the quarterdeck and all other safety procedures on board are being observed.
This vessel is equipped with complex combat system ideal for protecting it from naval, aerial and submarine attacks. Jasiri, like any other Kenya Navy warship, is fitted with a sonar system that detects all movements underwater up to 100 kilometers away. It is also fitted with a 360 degrees radar that can detect objects as small as a golf ball from the same radius. Also on the routine voyage on board the Kenya Navy warship Shujaa is the sister vessel's commanding officer, Major Gilbert Mbogo.
The vessel is used to sea lift our sister services, especially the Army, to the various FOBs, various places they are located along the coast. She is also used due to her sensors and also due to her weapons. She is used to conduct a shore bombardment and offer or deliver naval gunfire support.
The two commanders explain how boots on board are rotated to ensure the vessels
is how they safeguard our territorial waters.
and it is here that the fire simulation is conducted.
The soldiers who are trained on board, with the experience, they are able to identify a hostile target. Anytime a hostile target is within reach, we close up our action station, we man our guns, we neutralize that target, and automatically we have to sink it.
The team simulates a response to naval attack from an enemy ship. With gunships at all corners of this 84.5 meter long vessel, officers manning the rifles swing to action. This is the amount of firepower that will be meted out on the enemy.
As an offshore patrol vessel, is equipped with weapons and guns that are capable of providing naval gunfire support to our troops on land. We can also do shore bombardment. We can also conduct anti-air operations.
The engine-powered guns have an effective range of up to 5 kilometers. These 12mm caliber guns fire up to 6 kilometers. The close-in weapon system, a 30mm gun, fires up to 6 kilometers as well, with the capability of destroying missiles launched towards Jasiri. It fires 6 rounds at a go. This firepower can sink an enemy vessel within minutes. When push comes to shove, the command will be issued for this Bofors gun, a 57mm caliber with a maximum range of 15 kilometers.
Report at the scene of fire. Attack party report at the scene of fire.
Mass fire, fire, fire! Fire, incinerating mass!
While in the shooting melee, just in case it is asymmetrical warfare, where Jasiri takes a hit, a fire could break out on board. Soldiers on board know exactly where to be and what to do.
Then the crew must be able to contain that fire. In that process, then the crew should be able to know who does what in that situation, considering it won't be in a peacetime condition.
Among the numbers on board, there is a contingent specifically trained to firefight. Geared up in their firefighting attire, they swing into action. Minutes later, the fire on board has been contained. On board this massive fighter, there red in color for ease of visibility. It keeps the soldiers warm in addition to giving them buoyancy so as to stay afloat until help arrives. Located deep in the bowels of the ship is the engine room. It should continue to function even when the ship is on fire. This is the commanding center of the vessel. With a replica of controls similar to what you find at the bridge, the engineers can literally steer the ship from this location. They are the first on board before any mission to power the engine before handing over the controls to the commander at the bridge. There too, they monitor the movement and are the last to leave after a mission is complete.
Heart of the ship. Every system, every machinery that you have seen during your trips in the ship is controlled from here. The main engines are controlled from here. They are in the docket of the engineering technician. The chief electrical engineer operates from this, working with all these consoles here. The guns that you saw firing, they draw their power from this room. The monitors that you saw working in the bridge, they all draw their power from here. So I can shut down the ship from here. So basically this is the heart of the ship.
In case a merchant vessel is spotted and contacted by the Navy, the crew have to be searched in case they haven't identified themselves properly. This is mostly done by the deployment of Kenyan Navy boat unit. This is a smaller, faster unit. They conduct searches. The simulation that follows here is how they enter a merchant ship. In a combat formation, they hook their vessel and move in. They tactically move and get through to the bridge where the crew has to identify themselves. Today, they are well documented.
Tanzania, Seychelles, and Uganda.
The soldiers tactically move back and communicate to base that all is clear.
So whenever there is a vessel that we either suspect or there is information or intelligence, or if we sight a vessel using our state-of-the-art sensors and radars and equipments, both on board and ashore, and we either note a vessel or we locate a contact, which basically is a vessel, that we are not sure, we suspect, or there is a suspicion that they might be conducting illegal activities within our territorial waters, we can use the boats to intercept, to board this, to search and to seizure.
As you remember, in 2014, we had the MV Al Nur, and 2015, the Baby Iris yacht that we suspected to have been carrying narcotic drugs. And through some thorough search, we were able to establish that this was the case. These people were taken to court and the two vessels were destroyed.
Combat is not the only function on board the Kenya Navy warships. One of the other very important departments is the kitchen, where meals are prepared around the clock.
Hakuna vitu tutaendelea na vita kama askari chakula. Mimi ndio naangaliwa. Hii vitu tunaenda paka unazoea inakuwa sido. Unajua sido ni bahari, hakuna bahari yote itakutingiza. Wewe unangangana hapa. Unajua askari akipita hapa aone hii gari imefungwa. Unajua askari atafikiria vibaya sana. Lazima uende akikuona kuna morale anapata ndio aendelee pale exercise yake aendelee akiwa sawa.
On board there are dining areas. This is the office.
Musipo nyamaza hii mkutano itakwisha. Can you tell those fellows to stop the singing? If you don't do it, hii mkutano itakwisha in the next few minutes. Musitulete upuzi hapa. Mnasikia?
Kuna maneno hiyo. Uja kutisha hapa na maneno kidogo ati mkutano itaisha. Mkutano ya nani itaisha? Mimi nimekuja hapa na niko nyumbani.
Controversy could easily be Isaac Kiprono Ruto's second nature. The Bomet governor has hopped from controversy to controversy, from being locked up in the aftermath of the August 1st, 1982 attempted coup, to being abandoned at the South African airport by former President Daniel Arap Moi. For over the 3 decades that he has been in politics, Ruto has rubbed shoulders with the who is who in Kenya, and in the process made himself powerful friends and enemies.
Anasema anataka kuingiza wewe ndani ya Jubilee na wewe hutatoka hapo hata ukifinywa wakiplug your ears lazima ukae hapo.
Love for speaking his mind and for daring to swim against prevailing political tides has thrust Ruto to prominence, and some would say notoriety as the rebel in chief. To his critics, Ruto's decision to abandon Jubilee in favor of his own brand new party, Chama cha Mashinani, in a region where the ruling coalition reads large, would seem as a headlock and foolish rush to commit political hierarchy. Yet his admirers read in his daring a political John Baptist, preparing ground for the South Rift community's divorce with Jubilee. The straight-speaking governor hails from the small village of Tumoi that nestles amid the rolling green of Chepalungu, the constituency that helped Ruto hone his leadership skills and that also served as his springboard to the bigger office of county governor. Tumoi is Ruto's citadel, where the governor retreats for much-needed family love and to renew his vows with that other love of his life, dairy farming.
And baby milk, they are so much they're making noises.
When we visited his home early morning, he was out and about making sure his dairy cows received the best care for the day in order to repay him with their own best.
I found my dad doing it, and then I got used to it. I used to milk even as I went to school. Even nikiwa university nakuna milk na kupeleka ng'ombe maziwa. But later on now that we grew into it, and then the demand now for milk, because I have a lot of visitors, forced me to keep dairy and then also for income.
It is a passionate love that has made him invest in a modern dairy home for his hundreds of dairy cows, he says, were sourced from Kiambu and even in Asian countries famous of top dairy breeds.
These are 40 liters a day. Where is the second one? This white one?
This one.
That 8 liters. This one will be used to feed it today. Yeah.
This for lunch, eh?
This one ends up being 8 shillings a kilo. On completion of growth. But hay is about 13 shillings a kilo. Because you buy it at 150 shillings, you divide by 13, it is about 12 shillings. And you have to grind it, and you have to put it in drums. It's another cost. So it goes all the way to 15 shillings a kilo. So hay is twice the price of this.
According to Ruto, the dairy farmer, he has set aside over 10 million shillings to design a state-of-the-art milking shed that will comprise a cooler, a milk processing and packaging section, and yogurt processing plant right from these ongoing works.
Even power for the...
Even for milking.
Inside his compound, the governor has set aside a mini airport, which his chopper lands and takes off whenever he uses a sky machine to maneuver around the expansive county of Bomet.
To build that, I think we used about 30 or 40 bags of cement. Somebody was telling it to Parliament that the governor has built an airport. In his home. Wabunge wako na vitina mingi ambayo uelewi.
He walks every morning.
When we joined his family for breakfast early morning, the shadow of an absent family member loomed large, memories of their late daughter Emi Ruto engulfing the heavy breakfast. She died of cancer in 2014 in what the family described as untimely for the national cricket captain.
When we started now asking hard questions and going for serious questions with the doctors is when we finally discovered, but it was too late. When we discovered she was sick, it was very devastating. The very fact of being told the news that it was actually a cancer,
It is time for Ruto the governor to give way to Ruto the father. The governor getting emotional and barely holding his tears back. It is the softer spot, rarely seen in public, that it is so difficult to reconcile with the tough-talking, straight-shooting Ruto. I choose to change the subject, hoping to help him avoid ruining his morning. Governor Ruto's thorny rebellion against Jubilee in the South Rift coming at a time when Deputy President William Ruto is seen as symbolically having one of his foot on the doorstep of State House in 2022 attracts criticism from the DP support base that his namesake is the perfect spoiler from within.
We formed URP, 3 of us. It was myself, William, Ketera, and then Kutun, 4. Then we invited Duale to Kawatan to form URP. Now the party we formed was now busy sabotaging my government in Bomet. I mean, really. So when they told me they were folding URP, I told them, in God's name, fold it. But don't expect me to follow you. Fold it. It can't work because this is the vehicle we formed. We expected certain results. You are driving it in the wrong direction. So definitely I can't be with you. That is now the opportunity I got to form Chama Cha Mashinani. So I'm not a rebel. I'm simply explaining my point.
He has been regarded as a man who has been able to crack the valley man says he has already prepared his flock to embrace the much-hyped but still unstructured National Super Alliance, and if he is to be believed, he is in advanced talks with the emerging coalition to ensure a handsome chunk of the coalition goodies for his CCM party if NASA forms the next government. As expected, the clash of the two Ruto has regularly earned the governor hostile fire from the DP ardent supporters.
Duale is not just Duale is a loose mouth. No one should take Duale seriously. He's simply a sycophant of unparalleled levels. William Ruto, you can understand him by the friends he keeps, even internationally. His best friend is Museveni of Uganda. You see how Museveni is dealing with Besigye. That is the William Ruto you're looking for. It's only a matter of time and he'll put on the same hat as Museveni, not the same Mukwachu. And he would want to do the same thing on all the opposition leaders as Museveni does on Besigye. As of now, Uhuru is a captive of William. So it's very difficult to judge Uhuru. Initially, we thought Uhuru was better natured. But he had not shown us any ideological inclination, either left, right, center, or wherever. We have no idea where he falls in the political line. So we really wouldn't. I wouldn't say he's pro-people. I wouldn't say he's pro-capitalists. I wouldn't say he's in the center, because I don't know. He has never shown us that. We thought he was fairly good-natured and he would implement certain things. There is no more Uhuru and there is no more William. There is only Uhuruto. They are conjoined at the hip, at the heart, at the pockets, and in the head. So they are there for one. Therefore, you can't describe Uhuru outside William as of now. They are just one and the same. What William is saying is obviously what Uhuru condones. Because as a president, he should have taken charge. Because he abdicated Rift Valley, traversing the place, harassing everybody, abusing them, and abusing the rest of the country everywhere. Everywhere. Nothing positive out of him. Raila Odinga has something that drives him. And that is something that has driven the Jaramogi family, I think, for a long time. They also want a fair society. I share quite a lot with Raila.
Miji no osio.
The daggers are drawn in Kirinyaga's race for governor. Two politically assertive women go eyeball to eyeball.
My track record speaks for itself. I'm marketing a record of delivery of service.
The rivalry is vicious.
A lot of the voters are young people and they want movement faster.
I haven't come to market myself as a youth. And you're not a youth either.
I mean, she started politics, I think, when I was in primary or something like that. She must be at least 20 years older than me.
We are in the same bracket, 50s. And if they are a day less than 50, they will be just on the dot hitting it.
The countdown has begun. The stakes are high.
This place requires a lot of running and a lot of work.
My name is a leopard. Wangari. Gary is a leopard. I got close.
The impact of the clash of the two Iron Ladies is reverberating across Kirinyaga County as the fight for the vote enters the home stretch. They were both powerful cabinet ministers during their respective stints in the Kibaki and Kenyatta regimes. But the fate of their gubernatorial race lies squarely on the feet of the Kirinyaga voters, with President Uhuru Kenyatta having remained neutral, endorsing neither of them.
I would not have wanted him to endorse me outrightly and say, because then it brings another conversation altogether and you understand what conversation that would be, an uncomfortable one.
I say hats off.
campaigns actually won with a connection. You have to have a connection with the people.
Campaign is what I do best, so I'm doing it and enjoying it too.
It's a face-off between a lawyer turned politician and a technocrat also turned politician, a seasoned party leader versus a political novice.
The results might go to the person who is going to be so much intensive in her campaign. As at now, they stand on the same footing.
They have both picked nicknames along the grueling campaign trail. Waiguru, now popular as Minji, Kikuyu for peace, while Ndengu Swahili for green grams is largely used by opponents to refer to Karua. Her supporters, however, call her Maua, Swahili for flower in reference to her party symbol.
Minji ni kitu nyololo na ni kitu mzuri, ni tamu ya ni njua. Lakini sasa Ndengo unakuta kugundua katika Ndengo kuna zile zinaitwa nemakovea, si unaona zile zenye azi.
And you don't even seem to know they are 8. It's only when the owner counts that you learn they are 8 and you start saying, oh, it's not me. Maybe it's not you. But did you go to sleep in the pasture?
Martha has BAT, South Gariama scandals on the allocation of land.
Tell us, why under your watch there is massive looting? Not an attempt, massive, systemic.
There is no ministry that doesn't have a question on with regard to audit. Not a single ministry. Even I don't even think there's a single department, let me put it that way, that wouldn't get an audit query.
I've been responsible for the Ministry of Water, Ministry of Justice, and I've been a patron of my CDF. Money has not been lost.
People were really shocked when you ditched the opposition to join President Uhuru's government, which you had harshly criticized for corruption. Now you join his camp.
There was corruption even in the opposition. I do remember one time we were in an opposition rally, and I was unable to talk about corruption because I was standing all around me at the podium were people who were prime suspects in the various. So let us also be very frank and let Kenyans know there is no camp of angels.
Tactically, I think Martha made the wrong decision to run for governor. That's my opinion as Anne. That time she ran for presidential, Kenyans had actually requested her to run for a governor seat and she turned it down.
Tulikuja kugundua Martha alikuwa anataka kudivide kula sawa Kikuyu. Uhuru Kenyatta akose kula.
Na hiyo tawala tunaye kutoka kwa Kibaki mpaka hapa bana Uhuru ni Martha, kwa sababu uongozi ulikuwa unaenda na Laila.
Miji ni osio.
The daggers are drawn in Kirinyagas race for governor. Two politically assertive women go eyeball to eyeball.
My track record speaks for itself.
I'm marketing a record of delivery of service.
The rivalry is vicious.
A lot of the voters are young people and they want movement faster.
I haven't come to market myself as a youth. And you're not a youth either.
I mean, she started politics, I think, when I was in primary or something like that. She must be at least 20 years older than me.
We are in the same bracket, 50s. And if they are a day less than 50, they will be just on the dot hitting it.
The countdown has begun. The stakes are high.
This place requires a lot of running and a lot of work.
My name is a leopard. Wangari. Gary is a leopard. I got close.
The impact of the clash of the two Iron Ladies is reverberating across Kirinyaga County as the fight for the vote enters the home stretch. They were both powerful cabinet ministers during their respective stints in the Kibaki and Kenyatta regimes. But the fate of their gubernatorial race lies squarely on the feet of the Kirinyaga voters, with President Uhuru Kenyatta having remained neutral, endorsing neither of them.
I would not have wanted him to endorse me outrightly and say, because then it brings another conversation altogether and you understand what conversation that would be, an uncomfortable one.
I say hats off.
Campaigns actually won with a connection. You have to have a connection with the people.
Campaign is what I do best, so I'm doing it and enjoying it too.
It's a face-off between a lawyer turned politician and a technocrat also turned politician, a seasoned party leader versus a political novice.
The results might go to the person who is going to be so much intensive in her campaign. As at now, they stand on the same footing.
They have both picked nicknames along the grueling campaign trail. Waiguru, now popular as Minji, Kikuyu for peace, while Ndengu Swahili for green grams is largely used by opponents to refer to Karua. Her supporters, however, call her Maua, Swahili for flower in reference to her party symbol.
Minji ni kitu nyololo na ni kitu mzuri, ni tamu ya ni njua. Lakini sasa ndengo unakuta kugundua katika ndengo kuna zile zinaitwa nemakobea, si unaona zile zenye
And you don't even seem to know there are 8. It's only when the owner counts that you learn there are 8 and you start saying, oh, it's not me. Maybe it's not you. But did you go to sleep in the pasture?
Martha has BAT, South Gariama scandals on the allocation of land.
Tell us, why under your watch there is massive looting? Not an attempt, massive, systemic.
There is no ministry that doesn't have a question with regard to audit. Not a single ministry. Even I don't even think there's a single department, let me put it that way, that wouldn't get an audit query.
I've been responsible for the Ministry of Water, Ministry of Justice, and I've been a patron of my CDF. Money has not been lost.
People were really shocked when you ditched the opposition to join President Uhuru's government, which you had harshly criticized for corruption. Now you join his camp.
There was corruption even in the opposition. I do remember one time we were in an opposition rally, and I was unable to talk about corruption because I was standing all around me at the podium were people who were prime suspects in the various. So let us also be very frank and let Kenyans know there is no camp of angels.
Tactically, I think Martha made the wrong decision to run for governor. That's my opinion as Anne. That time she ran for presidential, Kenyans had actually requested her to run for a governor seat and she turned it down.
Tulikuja kugundua Martha alikuwa anataka kudivide kula sawa Kikuyu. Uhuru Kenyatta akose kula.
Na hiyo tawala tunaye kutoka kwa Kibaki mpaka hapa bana Uhuru ni Martha, kwa sababu uongozi ulikuwa unaenda na Laila.
As dawn breaks and the sun rays kiss the still waters of Lake Victoria, a semblance of tranquility and peace sweeps over the horizon, belling the murky political season that is just about to hit the terrain. And with the sunrise, Budalangi MP powers the start of his day, all in a bid to gather his political thoughts.
Some of the most momentous decisions I've made politically and socially have been made here. I retreat here a lot. I retreat here to relax. I retreat here to think. I retreat here to reflect. And I retreat here to make major decisions, yes.
From the winding hills to the expansive waters, it is a break from the high-voltage politics. Here, there is a sense of belonging and a feeling of surmounting the insurmountable. It is home.
We are aquatic beings. We love water. We found water therapeutic. It's calming, it's healing. And it was a natural choice for myself and my family.
It is a familiar territory over which he has reigned politically, so to speak, for the last 2 terms, since his first election in 2007 as a Member of Parliament. But in 2016, he made a big gamble that might have a bearing on the direction of his future as an MP. His decision to abandon ODM, a party he was serving as Secretary General, may make or break him.
They say, like wine, it gets better with time. It gets better with age. I believe I have got better with the passage of time. I believe I have a lot to offer, both my people and also the nation, our nation, Kenya. And so, yes, I'll be defending my parliamentary seat on August 8th, 2017. I'm very confident, very, very confident of retaining this seat. And my confidence is born out of the fantastic relationship I have built with my people.
You've been an ardent supporter of the Orange Party. You actually fought very hard to become Secretary General. We know what happened, the chaos that happened at Kasarani and the subsequent negotiated deal for the leadership structure. Then at some point you decided to walk out. Why was that?
I was never intended to serve effectively as a Secretary General. One, it dawned on me that just before I took over Secretary General, drastic changes had been made in the office of Secretary General by creating offices whose import was to take authority from the office of the Secretary General and leave that office as a shell. The Office of Secretary for Political Affairs had been created and handed to Opiyo Wandayi. The Office of Director of Elections had been created and handed to Junet Mohammed. The Office of Director of Communication had been created and handed to Philip Etale.
Namwamba claims his troubles began immediately. He expressed interest in stepping into Professor Peter Anyang' Nyong'o's shoes as Secretary General of ODM.
Raila Odinga, the ODM party leader, looked me straight in the eye and told me, Babu, I don't see any better successor to Professor Nyong'o than you. Go for it by all means. He concluded by saying, take my support and my goodwill for granted. can take them for granted.
Despite Odinga's assurance, he says the tide against him was growing by the day.
All of a sudden, there was this wave of propaganda woven against me. It's the first time I heard the term mole. I'm a mole. I can't be trusted. I was very hurt, extremely. I was very disturbed. I sought audience with the party leader. And my concern was that what is going on is worrying me. Some of these sentiments were coming too close to the center of power. I was hearing voices from Oburu Odinga. I was hearing voices from people like Eliud Owalo, who had just been presidential campaign manager for Raila Odinga. And so I asked the party leader, is this reflective of your position? Do you have a problem with me running for Secretary General? He assured me he had no problem.
With that assurance, Namwamba formed a team that would include Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho, his Turkana counterpart Josephat Nanoka, among others. They displayed an open show of opulence and flamboyance in their campaigns, crisscrossing the country with choppers.
Another wave of propaganda was born, and it was that the ODM Fresh is being funded by enemies of the party. In fact, it was clearly stated that the sponsor of ODM Fresh is the Deputy President William Ruto, and so Ababu wants to take over the party and sell it to William Ruto. I don't know what William Ruto was supposed to do after buying ODM. That's the story of another day.
When pressed about his relationship with Deputy President William Ruto, Namwamba is coy about it, only insisting that the Deputy President has always been his friend. The status remains as so.
He was my friend when we served together as ODM. He was my friend when we were members of parliament in the 10th parliament. He was my friend when we were both cabinet ministers in the Grand Coalition government. He's been my friend after we split up. He moved out of ODM, I remained in ODM. He's my friend when he became deputy president. Today he's deputy party leader of Jubilee, and I'm party leader of Labour, and we are still friends. And I owe nobody no apology, no explanation for who my friends are.
Back to ODM matters, and the two-term Budalangi MP claims an elaborate scheme had been hatched to ensure his team was not elected into office in the botched February 28, 2014 elections.
On the eve of the election, on 27th, elections were held on 28th February 2014. On the 27th, we received the reports, intelligence, very, very reliable intelligence, that the elections were going to be disrupted at Kasarani. In fact, the source of our intel was so clear, and I quote the source, "There'll be no election at Kasarani."
He says he sought the audience and assurance of Odinga about the situation.
We had a very candid meeting with Raila Odinga, and we laid our intel bare on his table, and we told him plans are at a very advanced stage to disrupt the elections at Kasarani. Boys have been hired. This evening as we meet you, they are also meeting at a place called 3D Restaurant on Gong Road. Our intel tells us, after you meet us, you will pass by there to meet them at 3D. They are actually there already waiting for you. He denied it. He denied any knowledge of the men in black. He gave us the assurance that elections would go on.
And on the floor of the delegates' conference, Namwamba insists it was very clear who the delegates were rooting for.
It was crystal, unequivocal, unambiguously clear the preference of the delegates in terms of the party leadership. When my name was mentioned for the position of Secretary General, the House came down. Absolutely. And it sent a very clear message to the so-called status quo that this election, if it's allowed to proceed, these guys will sweep all positions.
Please, 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 delegates, we want the registers read because people are voting aimlessly. We want the register brought here before election is done. We want the register brought here before election is done. We want the...
It as it may, it's now what under the bridge. The election, of course, it went according to the script of the intel that we had gathered. Exactly. The dress code, the numbers, the command of the men in black. It was exactly as our intel had submitted to us. They disrupted the election.
Order!
With the elections bungled and a leadership vacuum within the party, a retreat in Naivasha was convened in November of 2014 and a deal hashed to merge the two factions that were contesting the elections, where Namwamba was appointed Secretary General. But even this, he claims, was a booby trap.
I was being set up so that I would always be reminded that you are never elected. Who elected you Secretary General? Raila Odinga made you Secretary General. And none other than Jakoyo Midiwo confirmed that in June this year. When speaking from Game, he said, I hear Ababu saying that he does not have the full authority of the office of Secretary General. How can he have full authority in an office where he was never elected? Ababu was never elected Secretary General. Ababu was made Secretary General. And then I said, so that was the whole plan.
Namwamba, who is now the lead of the Labour Party of Kenya, says this was the cue for other party functionaries to undermine him.
We moved a motion at Manzoni. We passed it. As Secretary General, I communicated that decision to the nation, that we are disbanding the elections board and we'll appoint a new board. A few days later, the Director of Communication, a junior staffer, actually a staffer, issues a statement contradicting that position of NEC communicated by the Secretary General. And when I found out where did this come from, I was told that was done on the instructions of the party leader.
Namwamba lays the blame for his woes at the doorstep of his then party boss, Raila Odinga.
I believe he was not honest with me. I believe he was not candid with me. He was not honest with me in terms of what he desired for the leadership of the party. It is obvious that Raila Odinga desired Agnes Zani to be Secretary General of ODM in preference to Ababu Namwamba. He should have had the courage, the honesty, and the sincerity to tell me that. And if he had been honest with me on that, I wouldn't have contested. I wouldn't have gone against his will. That is the much respect I had for him.
And to that extent, according to Namwamba, the ODM leader has failed a critical test.
He failed the test of a mentor, of a role model that is proud to see his protege emerge, grow, and blossom in the party. Today, I would ask you, who within ODM for the last 10 years, or for the period that Raila Odinga has been in politics, whom has he mentored?
Nonetheless, matters have not been smooth for Namwamba after he left ODM. Some of the leaders he bolted with have since made an about turn, creating the impression that he was a lone ranger, at least for now.
About the people you mentioned, Mheshimiwa Otuoma, my brother Waluke, at a time when we expressed our disaffection with how things were being run in ODM, we never had the goal or the agenda of heading into a party together. That is something I need to clarify. Myself and the others never sat down and said, we are going to leave ODM and then head to another party. No.
He claims he has rejected overtures from various leaders and parties from Western Kenya.
Ford Kenya approached me. I held a meeting with Moses Wetangula, Senator Halwale, and their team. They approached me to join Ford Kenya. I declined respectfully. My brother Musalia approached me to join ANC. I declined respectfully. I looked at the political environment, the political scene. I settled on Labour. And I'm very happy and contented in Labour. My singular mission right now is to make Labour Party a formidable political actor on the Kenyan political scene.
As to his political future, he is leaving all options open as he watches the political season unravel. His aim being to hitch his wagon to the winning political train later this year.
Don't get too worked up, Chief. Relax. Today Ababu may be here. Tomorrow you may be the Ababu in the same team. Okay? By August 8th, 2017, things will have changed so much. So before you get worked up, you never know who is going to end up with whoever. And that's just politics. It's about interests.
Sam Okina, Citizen Live at 9.
I'm grateful, my lords and my ladies. My ladies and my lords, as we have said, these reports that have come out prove beyond a reasonable doubt that these elections were shambolic. Indeed, if there is anybody that would have the audacity to defend this election from the reports that we have received, I think it would be a great disaster to the Constitution of Kenya and to the people who were sovereign. My lords, because of the limited time, I'll begin with a report coming out of the scrutiny of report as filed by the registrar. That was the group that was working at Milimani Law Courts. My lords, if you look from page 8 of the report, first of all, on page 7, the numbers of the forms that were made available are found in paragraph 13, the number of form 34C, 34B, and others which were downloaded, and form 34A. Paragraph 15, which I don't want to repeat, is again an inventory of all manner of transgressions that were committed in terms of the copies of the documents that were examined under the guidance of the registrar. But the story itself begins on page 9, in relation to form 34C, paragraph 23. The petitioners noted that there were no security features of watermark and serialization were noted, and the form looked like a photocopy. This is the form that the chairman himself signs after the collation of the form 34Bs. So even the form that was before the chairman that has been produced does not bear those security features, leave alone the ones he was not handling directly. But now when we come to form 34Bs, my lords, it's a very, very sad story. If you go to a bank, if you have a bad check, even if it is your account, you will not access your money. But my lords, now we are faced in a situation where we are being told from this report that more than 56 forms did not have watermark as a security feature. 5 forms were not signed by the returning officers. And forms that were stamped by the returning officer that have not been that were only stamped by the returning officer are 2. My lords, we are dealing with 291 forms. Forms without serial numbers, 31. We are dealing with 290 forms plus the diaspora 291. These figures are critical. Forms not signed by the agents, 32. My lords, forms that did not have the handover section were not filled, 189. My lords, this is a form that is taken from the returning officer to that National Tallying Center. is not from the polling station to the constituency tallying center. This is to the national tallying center. 189 did not have handover notes. They have not been filled. And there is another 103 of them that they had no handover section that they had been received. And my lord, it goes on and on. But the most, my lords, I will not stop there. I can barely talk because I can't believe what I'm seeing. I can't believe what I'm seeing. My lords, when it comes to the scrutiny done on your lordship's orders, and I will begin with the very serious ones. My lord, the first question is the question of compliance. As a whole, there has been no compliance with your lordship's orders. There's been part compliance. And in the crucial areas where there should have been compliance, there's no compliance. And my lords, what is contained in the database of the IEBC is the mirror of what took place during the elections. And not just on polling day, before and after the polling, all this should have been captured in the database of the IEBC. My lords, you see in paragraph 3.2, which deals with order B, about the firewalls. My lord, the court-appointed experts say that the first respondent was supposed to provide configuration of internal firewalls as the request is genuine. This is our own independent expert saying, and does not affect the vulnerability of the system. And they conclude by saying the internal firewall IEBC on the election technology system prior to the election. My lord, again, this one was not submitted at all. And this is important to know whether this system had integrity. My lord, again, when it comes to the documents relating to certified copies of certificates by professionals prepared to Regulation 10, again, of the same regulation, again, this was not provided. This is even more important. Order 1, found in paragraph 3.9. Specific GPR location of each KIMS kit used during the presidential election for the period between 5th of August 2017 to 11th of August. They said they provided the GPS locations for the polling stations, but not for the kits, which means that if those were provided, then they would have known whether these kits were used or not and from where they were used. My lord, when it came to, I'm just dealing with the more important ones. When it comes to the read-only access, where your lordship said you can have access but is limited to read-only access. My lord, this again was not provided. They say there was a live access which there was an attempt to make around 3. This is 350. But without the ability to access the logs or even view them. Therefore, according to them, your own experts, your lordships, this was not granted. My lords, again, when it comes to log-in trails of users and equipment into the KIMS database management, this was a crucial one. Again, this was not granted. My lord, again, there was a request or an order for login trails for users and equipment into the KIMS database management systems. Again, my lord, that request was also not granted. It was an order, actually, it was not a request. And finally, my lord, there was required to be given information on a soft copy of this request And again, this was not provided. The general conclusion then is that the first respondent only agreed to provide read-only live access to the servers at about 11 a.m. today, but partial read-only access was provided about 3:15, but with no capability of copying. But from what you'll see from our reports, from what we have gleaned from what was granted, my Lord, it will be established that even the account of the chairman was being used for deletion of information that was in the database. That is what our experts have gleaned from this examination, from what they were given. They have also gleaned from what was available that there was unauthorized access by, in some cases, individuals who have been identified from what has been provided. My Lord, since I have only 20 seconds, from this, my Lords, there is no other alternative.
You need another few minutes?
Yes, my Lords, if I can be given.
Yes?
Yes.
Another 5 minutes?
Yes, my Lord. My Lords, what I would want to say in conclusion in these 5 minutes is that from the forms themselves, 34A, 34B, even the reports in relation to Form 34A, there was a random sampling of those forms. And again, even in respect of 34As, the ones that were made available, they had a lot of problems. And the counties and the constituencies have been mentioned in the report, on the report that was carried out at Milimani. In respect of the Form 34Bs, in totality, if you look at the numbers of votes that it affects, in more than 90 constituencies, where what's required under the law was either not done, or in terms of security features, you'd find that security features in those forms were found not to be in those forms. So the logical conclusion is that, my Lords, you cannot ignore the report in regard to the forms, and the forms are statutory forms. They are there to serve a purpose, and my Lords, when you look at the report, and in fact, if at random you could be calling for some of those forms, you'd find that indeed we are justified in terms of the complaints that we're making. And my Lords, from our own report, which you have filed in court, we have made also a report in reaction to this exercise. And there is no difference between what we have found out from what the registrar found out with the group of experts that he had. Just on the question of Form 34As and 34Bs. The conclusion it is not just a question of numbers. Now, my Lord, the registrar must be commended. If you look at the copies of the report of the registrar, which was signed, and she made it available to us, she was going through file by file, constituency by constituency, and making remarks. There's a report that has been filed, but there's an additional working sheet that she had.
Yes, Honorable Muite.
Yes. What my learned friend is referring to now are new documents that have just been filed by the petitioner. These two documents. This is the one he's referring to. Our understanding was that it's only the reports, the two reports from your registrar that should be being considered now their reports to the court, because it is the court that directed the registrar to do so. And the court very kindly said the court will accord a few minutes to each of the parties to comment on the reports by the registrar. I think it's quite irregular to now file these bulky documents. They've just been handed over to us. We've not even had time to look at them. The confines of the directions are for parties to comment on the reports by the registrar. And I ask that this should not be permitted, this should be disregarded, this should be withdrawn, and my learned friend should be confined to commenting on the reports by the registrar.
Could I? My two learned seniors sometimes tend to overlook me. May it please you, my lords, I take an objection to a new document which has been filed. I have only seen one, so it would appear from Senior Counsel Mwite there are two. The first one, my lords, is titled Petitioner's Report on Forms 34C, Ds and 34Bs, Examination Exercise. This is a new document. It seeks to introduce new evidence, introduce new allegations, and will have no opportunity to rebut them. My lords, it's the most irregular filing that I've ever come across, a filing being done post the conclusion of the case. I wasn't even served with the second document. I don't even know what it is. But the one that somebody casually put on my lap as he was walking is this one. This other one, I don't even know what it is. Be it as in may, my lords, I request the same fate to fall this, which is even a third one. It's becoming like a magician's box. I think I've dealt with them. There's a third one, my lords, which is Petitioner's Report from ICT Access /Audit Report. So there are three. I hope there won't be a fourth one. My lords, your order was quite clear. You are to give us 10 minutes to comment on the report from the two parallel processes. You didn't give us an opportunity to file or a cross-filing to be made. It will be most irregular if petitioner is allowed that latitude and we are denied an opportunity to be had in respect to now 3 documents.
Mr. Ngatia,
yes, my lord.
When I allowed Mr. Orengo an extra few minutes, I know what I was doing. I was going to allow you the extra 5 minutes because I realized he had not finished.
Yes.
And I was going to allow all of you. Yes. The time I was going to give to Mr. Orengo, I was going to give to the 3 of you.
No,
but anyway, we have got your point.
Yes.
Yeah, we have got your point.
The time I have no difficulty.
Yes.
I may not even want to rival him with 15 minutes.
Yes.
I may still take my 10 minutes. I have no difficulty with the time. It's a new document.
Very well. Very well. Very well.
My
very well.